you successfully pivoted away from the intention of my question, which wasn't the factual nature of the statements you were saying. It's the way that you phrased them.
So I phrased them effectively, and that should be a problem?
No, it's not about effectively as defined by
Wait,
you,
what?
as in it promotes your
you even
agenda.
said you pivoted quickly away from the abortion thing.
What?
Happy to, yeah.
What?
Hello. Sorry if I'm not as articulate as I could be. It's weird to see you guys in person. I am kind of interested in the wordplay, specifically Charlie, because I've seen the most of you online, but also Candace, but I'm afraid I have nothing to ask, but specifically Charlie. A lot of the wordplay you use, and a lot of the sources that you draw on, like the statistics, you're very good at just ramping off statistics and throwing them into the person that you're arguing. I was wondering, where do you collect your sources, and do you make them easily accessible?
Of course. Would you like to name an example that I can cite for you now?
I don't question that the things that you're saying are factual. It's more how they are phrased and how they are put to us. So, for example, the thing that you've just said now about abortion, could you quickly remind me so I don't trip over my own
Sure,
words?
I'll do the first one. I say, a celebration of a pregnancy, why do we call that event a baby shower, not a fetus shower?
Right, so that in itself sounds like, oh, right, well, that means there's a cultural acceptance of the idea that it's a baby pre-birth. But that's just a linguistic, cultural way. So I'm pro-choice, for example, but I would still call it a baby shower. That doesn't mean I culturally accept the idea that it's a baby pre-birth. I'm just using a linguistic standard.
There's deeper meaning. Now, let's play this out. It's fun. So if the individual that has the baby shower decides right after the baby shower to have an abortion, what is that inside of her called?
I don't want to do this, if that's all right. I don't want to do abortion.
I know, but you see all of a sudden your argument
can I use a different
up?
example of abortion is kicking up too much dust?
Oh, brother, this is one of them talks. I would say, though, usually, at least in my community, baby showers happen, closer to when the baby is born. It's like when you come and get the gift. So I don't even think you could have an abortion, I guess, right after a baby shower. That would be kind of weird. That would be kind of strange. But then again, I don't know. That's kind of a good question. I don't know.
Say that again.
Can I use a different example
Sure,
of a fact?
that's fine.
Okay,
That's
so
fine. Perfectly fine.
the first thing I saw.
So he tried to use a different example now when he couldn't, I guess, use that example to help his argument. And this is the problem I have. I feel like a lot of these arguments are not in good faith because instead of saying oh no, you're right, never mind, I'm gonna sit down, you just use a different argument to support the pre-notions you already have.
With you in was your political debate with Hassan.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I saw of you. And you said, you'll probably still remember it, but it was that the worst 10 cities in America were run by Democrats.
Yeah, the poorest, most murderous. Yeah.
Right. So I looked it up because I wanted to read up on it, and there wasn't a source in the video mirror I'd seen. And that was correct. But it was also correct that of the top 10 cities, most of them were Democrat. And across the board, on average, most cities are Democrat. So the fact that you took it out of the entirety of the fact,
that's
which
a good
is that
point,
most
though.
cities are Democrat, the top best cities are Democrat, and the worst cities are Democrat, and you chose to only say that the worst cities are Democrat.
Top best cities are Democrat?
Well, so he means the most he means the wealthiest.
In the same way that, yeah. So the study that I found that mirrored your statistic said that.
So I actually like this young man because he actually came and see, this is what you got to do. This is all I'm saying. If you're going to argue or if you're going to debate, because it's not really an argument, then at least just look up what they're talking about. It'll take nothing to get a phone and just look bro, Google is instantaneous. Just look stuff up. Man.
So cities tend to be more, urban
We'll
areas
watch a
tend to be
YouTube
more to the
video.
left, just as they are. But when Republican mayors are actually allowed the chance to govern, the results are remarkable. And so let's juxtapose cities versus states, or even if you want to extrapolate what my argument was really talking about. In the laboratory of democracy theory, which we all believe in, which is when certain states are allowed to have juxtaposed policies and contrast against each other, you see huge differences. So the most prosperous, most job-creating, most entrepreneurial states are ones with Republican governors and low-tax, low-regulation type policies. And there is a correlation between the most murderous, the most dangerous, and the most honestly hopeless areas, and Candace grew up in one of them, are almost always dominated by Democrats. But when those Republican policies are actually allowed to be instituted, those communities turn around quite quickly. So.
And another one was that you said.
So that's what he meant. That makes a lot of sense. I was like, yeah, like if all the cities are Democrats, but he's saying like in reference to, I guess, the politicians running the cities. I don't know if that should be true. I might look it up after this, but that's a good argument.
I think it was the life expectancy in Cuba was 15 years lower than that in the United States.
Yeah, if the government doesn't kill you, right.
Right, democide. But I looked it up as well, and I found there was no information on that. And in fact, the Google definition, which draws on, it cites many different studies, and it fills it all in and it pulls it all together, and it chooses the most reasonable response that's backed up by facts and logic. It said that it was actually a year older than the US. So how do you, especially
point.
when you're, like, I think it's called galloping, when you're throwing so many points in a debate, do you not think it's unfair and unreasonable and maybe at points even manipulative to be phrasing things in a certain way that might be, when beyond scrutiny, it's like me who had to Google all of these statistics, which pan out to be not as obtrusive and anti-left as you say they are? Do you not think that's at the worst incompetent, and at the best incompetent, and at the worst malicious?
So you're entitled to your own opinion, not entitled to your own facts. Let's talk about the Cuban one. I reject the own Cuban government's health statistics.
So here's what I say about that. The young man brought up three things. He brought up abortion, such as using something like a baby shower. Why do you call it a baby shower? He brought up cities that are worse are usually ran by, I guess, Democratic parties. And he brought up, what was the last one he just brought up? Cuba. Cuba's health rate. So of the three he brought up, two of them were already proven by Charlie Kirk. The first one said, well, if you were having a baby shower and you, I guess, aborted the fetus right after, would it be a baby, or how would you feel about that? He was like, well, yeah, you're kind of right. Like, I would never do that. And he said, why do you call it a baby shower? Why don't you call it a fetus shower? Like, why doesn't anyone call it a fetus shower? That kind of implies that it's a baby inside of you. So that was the first thing. The second thing is, well, he said, well, the lowest 10 cities are ran by, I guess, Democrats, but also the highest 10 cities are ran by Democrats. He said, well, actually, the cities that have like Republican mayors and people in office usually turn around quite quickly, and I can prove that. So those were the two things that he's already proven, and of the two so far, he's kind of made sense of both of them. And the last one he hasn't even talked about yet. So for you to pose the question, well, do you think bringing up these statistics are manipulative, or do you think you're being unfair with bringing these up? That's not even a fair question, because the chances that you had to bring the statistics to him, he's already justified what he was saying, and it makes perfect sense. And I'm not just saying that to be on his side, but I'm saying, like, from what I'm hearing, it makes perfect sense. So that's not really a fair question for you to say, like, you're abusing statistics to the side. Like, I don't think he's doing that. But let me know what y'all think in the comments.
Statistics completely and totally. I don't believe the socialist governments of Cuba's health statistics that they submit to the World Health Organization or the United Nations, because objective, independent analysis of their own health standards are nearly 20 to 30 years behind life expectancy that their own government produces. So what you're looking at is corroborated by people that want it to be true. And we can have a 30-minute discussion over whether you believe the Cuban health statistics, but the answer is, show me another statistic of anything I've talked about in the 300 hours that Candace and I have done, public speaking. Everything I talk about, everything I do is rooted in years of research and backing and data, and I'm happy to talk about each specific one. I don't want to monopolize the time here, but I reject the premise and the insinuation that somehow I'm being reckless, because facts are not reckless. In fact, it's the basis of why we're here and why what we believe.
You successfully pivoted away from the intention of my question, which wasn't the factual nature of the statements you were saying. It's the way that you phrased them.
So I phrased them effectively, and that should be a problem?
No, it's not about effectively as defined by
Wait,
you,
what?
as in it promotes your agenda.
Said
so in this,
you pivoted quickly away from the abortion thing.
What?
Happy to, yeah.
What? So he's saying, yeah, what you're saying makes sense. but it's phrased wrong, bro. Okay, let me think about this, y'all. Let me think about this. This is hurting my brain, bro. I'm sorry. 1 + 1 is 2, but I don't like the way you said 2. Like, bro, I'm really trying to understand. Somebody, please let me know what he's talking about.
I pivoted away from the abortion thing not because I didn't want to talk about it, but because it made me uncomfortable to do so.
Do you think do you think it's effective the way I worded it? Because maybe it made you think
You brought
a way
it up,
you never
though.
had to think before. The point is, like, I could do that for every issue.
It's more that, so you say, like, oh, we shouldn't trust the Cuban health statistics because they've
Correct.
got an agenda to promote, and that probably makes a lot of sense. But similarly, there are people whose prime objective, as if they're still stuck in McCarthyism, is to obliterate any form of socialism and communism as an opposition to free market capitalism. And so,
Wait,
similarly,
what?
in the same way that we shouldn't trust the authorities in Cuba.
If the root of this is capitalism versus socialism, is there an example where socialism is really thriving and worked as a concept? Like, this is what I don't understand. It's weird to me when people come up to this discussion and it's like, at your core, you're just defending socialism, defending Cuba, defending.
So I actually had to look up what socialism is because I'm gonna be honest with y'all, bro. I don't know the exact definition of it. I really don't. So this is what I found. Socialism is a political and economic theory in which the means of production, distribution, and exchange are owned or regulated by the community as a whole. This typically involves public ownership of things like factories, land, and resources. In a socialist system, wealth and power are intended to be distributed equally among the members of society, with the aim of reducing economic and social inequality. He's socialist? In theory, something like that could work where everything is equal. But let's be 100, bro. Let's talk about it. Let's say everything is equal, but you work a way harder job than I work. Because let's be honest, you can't enforce the same workload on every single citizen, especially the bigger your community is. So let's say you're working 12 hours a day, and I'm making YouTube videos. But you're like in a farm or a cornfield or whatever. Would you want to split your earnings with me? Like, I'm sitting here, nice comfy chair by Darwin X, and you're in the cornfield in the scorching hot sun, but we're still getting paid the same amount. So it's like your income is mine. Like, that's kind of what I think of when I hear of socialism. It doesn't really sound fair, ironically, even though it's supposed to induce fairness. But let me know what y'all think about it.
What are you
That's
defending?
not the root of my question.
I get what
not
you're
argument.
saying is he phrasing things in a way that maybe aren't fair because you could find something on the internet that maybe supports communism and socialism. That's essentially what you're saying, right?
No, you're mischaracterizing me, actually.
Okay, how am I mischaracterizing you?
You're mischaracterizing me because you've generalized what I'm saying, which is that I've looked into talking points that Charlie's raised. I've
Right.
found the exact studies that he's referenced and know that they do because they actually mirror the things that he's said verbatim.
So they're cited.
And
So I do use studies, is what you're saying.
I never said you didn't, Charlie.
I'm not sure where you're coming from.
That's why I'm saying
do
I'm
either of you
actually
understand
I'm not
where I'm coming from
mischaracterizing
here?
you. I get what you're saying. You're saying Charlie. He's saying that you say facts, but there are also alternative facts that would maybe present socialism and communism in a better way.
What are you saying then?
The way he's saying them, not because.
Because from what I'm getting, you're saying that
Well,
he's
that's called a debate.
yeah. Essentially, what you're saying is he's too good at presenting his argument. Because you're saying no. Let me finish. You've just said
Oh my goodness.
you went and looked at over the things that Charlie said. You found them to be backed by studies, which would mean they were factual. So he's not lying. He's not mischaracterizing or using wrong data. Let me finish. You've been allowed to talk for a while now. And then, but the way he presents him in an argument when you say he's galloping may maybe make his opponent afraid to talk, or I don't know what it does
Basically
to them.
wants Charlie
However,
to
the
argue
bottom
with
line
himself.
the bottom line is you're saying Charlie's using facts. I don't get how that can be a disagreement.
Well, it's
that Charlie
unfair.
uses facts in his arguments.
You're
and
saying
then
that he's
people
not
come up-
presenting other facts
like,
that would defeat his debate.
Yeah.
So you're basically saying he should do also the job of Charlie Kirk and whoever's debating him, which is
in the
just
same time.
ludicrous.
That's essentially what you're saying is that Charlie should say, okay, you should look at.
Okay, this student is getting destroyed, bro. I'm not even gonna hold you because here's my thing. I think the student is a smart young man. Like, you gotta be, because he uses pretty good language. But my thing is, I don't know what he's saying. Like, because it would be one thing if you came up here with like, your facts are wrong, but he's like, no, your facts are right. but you're not presenting them in a way that you should be presenting them. But they're right. Like, everything you're saying is right, though. But you could, like, I really genuinely don't know what he's saying.
The socialist country and say Venezuelan people are killing their pets to eat food, etc. However, in this situation, they had really good weather and it was sunny, etc. I don't understand how you want him as one side of the. Yeah, I'm going to finish.
And by the way, another good use of this time would have been if you actually had the alternate facts and just debated Charlie.
Just said yes instead.
While you were here, as opposed to debating the concept.
There's no point having your own
Charlie should be
opposition
debating
without
Charlie.
actually giving the facts yourself to come and debate, rather than saying he uses facts too well.
Yeah. Final point, and I'll let my attorneys answer the rest of the questions.
Again, you've mischaracterized what I'm truly saying here, which is that you're not trying to genuinely convince people. You seem to be, from the presentation of the facts that I've given you as an example, phrasing truths in a very specific way and choosing to ignore things that present it on a more balanced way to basically trick people, right? That's no. Please let me finish. 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 Can I finish? Please let me finish.
They argue their opinion.
What? Let me think.
Look, fact. No, seriously. Hear me out, man.
Facts
Hear
are
me out.
unfair.
Facts, right? Facts don't care about your feelings, right? Facts are objective statehoods, right? But the way that you choose to present them, right? It's like saying if a statistic is 68%, you can't just rearrange the 68 to say 86, right? Hear me out, because that is just lying.
You could rearrange it to say 32, no? You could rearrange it to say 32, the other way around. Those are both factual things. If you say 68%...
Do I need the mic? I can hear me. Oh, sure. The way that you're choosing to... the way that you're choosing to talk about statistics, the things that you're choosing to neglect that present things in a more balanced way, indicates that your objective here isn't to convince people based on the whole truth, but in fact to play off of people's inability to quickly respond by asking for sources. Like if you provided a source sheet, I'm struggling to articulate this, but...
What? Yeah, you are struggling to articulate. Like, I really don't know what you're saying right now, bro. You're struggling. You need to struggle less so I can understand you, which is ironic because you're trying to play on Charlie Kirk's inability to debate or to convince people when you have the same inability. You have the inability that you're projecting on him. Like, and I'm not trying to go on you right now. I'm really not. But I really don't know what you're trying to say. Like, you can't make this stuff up, bro. You really can't make this up. Like, y'all see what I'm seeing, right? Y'all see it. This dude has been struggling all video for 17 minutes and 23 seconds straight. You know what? I'm done. This video's over. I'll see y'all today,